Welcome back to Cine Script, your stop for movie recaps that hit deep. Today, we're unraveling The Other Man, a gripping drama of love, betrayal, and the haunting search for truth.
The film begins with Lisa on a yacht in Milan, appearing very happy. Shortly after, we see her at a fashion show with her husband Peter and their daughter Abigail. It becomes clear that Lisa is a shoe designer, and all the models are wearing shoes she designs. After the show, Lisa, Peter, and Abigail go to the model's dressing room. There, Lisa greets the fashion designer and her assistant Ralph. At that moment, Abigail tells her father that she's leaving because her husband George is waiting outside. She says goodbye to her mother and leaves with George. Meanwhile, Ralph, Lisa's friend and the fashion designer's assistant, tries to convince her not to retire. But she has already made her decision and tells him that this is the right time to stop. When Peter approaches, Lisa says, "You know Ralph," and he replies, "Yes." Then Peter tells Lisa, "I'll leave you with them and wait for you at the restaurant to celebrate this occasion." A little later, Lisa goes to the restaurant where her husband is waiting. She sits down and they chat for a while. He tells her that he loves the shoes she designs but doesn't like the fashion designer or Ralph. They choose their dinner from the menu, and Peter says the restaurant serves fish unlike any other in Milan. We learn that Lisa frequently travels to Milan to close deals with shoe store. Then Lisa asks him, "Have you ever felt like being with another woman besides me?" He replies, "No, I've spent more than half my life with you. My love for you has never decreased, and I've never felt the need for another woman in my life." She says, "I love you so much. If I didn't, I would have left you a long time ago." A few days later, Lisa tells him she's traveling to Milan to settle some accounts with clients. She packs her bags and leaves. 9 months later, we see Peter taking all of Lisa's clothes out of the house. At the same time, Abigail visits him and finds him collecting all her mother's clothes. He gives them to her, saying, "I don't want to see these clothes again." She replies, "We're the same size, but I don't want them." At that moment, Peter finds Lisa's phone, takes it, and puts it in his desk drawer. Then Abigail hands him a piece of paper and says, "Mom asked me to give you this." When he opens it, he finds the words, Lake Como. That night, a voice message arrives on Lisa's phone. When Peter listens to it, he hears a man saying, "I miss you so much. I haven't heard your voice in a long time, and I wish I could." Peter is shocked. He never imagined that Lisa might have been cheating on him for a long time. He leaves the phone on Lisa's laptop and goes upstairs to sleep, but his thoughts won't let him rest. He returns to the office and begins browsing the photos on the laptop. They are all family photos until he finds a file titled Love. When he tries to open it, it's password protected. He enters several guesses, but they're all incorrect. He goes back to browsing photos and finds pictures of Lisa with Ralph from the last fashion show they attended. From the pictures, it's clear Ralph is very close to Lisa. Suddenly, an email arrives from someone named Ralph. In the message, Ralph reminds Lisa of their love and asks her to leave everything behind and come to him to rekindle their old romance. The next morning, Peter goes to the fashion house and confronts Ralph, asking, "Were you in a relationship with Lisa?" Ralph replies, "No, but I wished we were closer, because you're not right for her. I don't know why she loved you or married you." The fashion house owner then tells Peter she knew Lisa had someone else in her life, but it wasn't Ralph, and she doesn't know who it was. Peter leaves the fashion house and visits his daughter. He tells her everything he discovered, but she doesn't believe him and says, "I won't let you speak that way about my mom." She prepares a room for him to sleep in, but as soon as she leaves, Peter leaves the house. Back home, Peter sends a message to Ralph saying, "The woman you sent that email to no longer exists," and sends it. The next morning at his company, he asks his secretary to call Joy, the company's cybersecurity expert, to his office immediately. When Joy arrives, he writes down the email address that sent the message to Lisa and asks her to find the name and address behind it. She asks if he plans to go after the sender. He replies, "To kill him." She assumes he's joking and promises to get him all the data. Peter stays at the company until evening, when another email from Ralph arrives. In it, Ralph writes that there's no such thing as love ending. There are too many memories between them. He ends the message by saying how happy he was that Lisa responded to his earlier email. Peter then goes to the company's security manager and says, "You were a former officer. Tell me where I can buy a gun." The man replies, "I won't tell you," fearing Peter might want to end his life. Later, Peter tries different passwords to open the folder on the laptop. Finally, he types Lake Como, and it opened. He's stunned to find pictures of his wife with another man in Milan. The photos show them meeting at restaurants, by the lake, and in a hotel room. The images make it clear Lisa had a relationship with that man. Peter is devastated. At that moment, Joy sends him the details of the email sender, and he finds out that his name is Ralph Cortez, a 36-year-old man living in Italy, specifically on 36th Street in Milan. Peter then asks his secretary to book him a flight to Milan and a hotel there. When he arrives in Milan, he goes to the building where Ralph lives, but he can't get in because the gate is locked. So he waits outside until a resident opens the gate, and before it closes, he manages to sneak in. He tries to find Ralph's name among the mailboxes near the entrance but doesn't find it, so he heads upstairs and waits near the apartment, hoping Ralph will come out. After a while, Ralph appears, and Peter follows him until he sees him enter a cafe. He goes in after him and searches until he finds him sitting in the chess section. Peter stands still and doesn't approach him. Meanwhile, Abigail starts to worry about Peter and calls him, but he doesn't answer. Then we see Peter in his hotel room, flipping through photos of his wife with Ralph, seeing how happy and cheerful she looked with him. That night, Peter can't sleep from all the thoughts racing through his mind. In the morning, he goes to the cafe very early and sits at the same table where Ralph usually sits, playing chess alone. When Ralph arrives, he tells Peter that he always sits there. Peter then invites him to play a round of chess, and Ralph agrees. They start getting to know each other during the game. Ralph tells Peter that his mother is English and his father is Spanish, that he doesn't stay in one place for long, and that he loves visiting London and New York. Just then, Peter receives a message from Abigail asking him to let her know he's okay. Peter then asks Ralph about the places he visited in England. Ralph replies that he went to Cambridge and met a woman from there, but he met her in Milan. He tells Peter she was a shoe designer and recounts the first time he saw her. He says she was wearing a beautiful pair of red shoes, and although she was very attractive, what truly caught his eye was the design and color of her shoes. He said that when she walked toward him, he started talking to her, and she responded as if she had known him forever. When Peter asks him when that happened, Ralph replies, 12 years ago. Peter feels a deep shock and betrayal but composes himself and asks, when was the last time you saw her? Ralph replies, 9 months ago, but I'm sure I'll see her again soon. At the same time, Abigail and her husband go to Peter's house to check on him but don't find him. Abigail finds her mother's phone and listens to Ralph's message, becoming shocked because she had previously doubted her father's words. The next day, Peter and Ralph meet again at the cafe and play another round of chess. During the game, Peter asks if she used to come to Milan often. Ralph says yes and tells him about a time they were together at a shoe factory. That day, Lisa insisted on ending the relationship, but he begged her to leave everything and run away with him. Then he started dancing with her in front of the factory workers, and she was incredibly happy. After they finished dancing, the workers applauded them. That night, it rained, and they ran together under the rain. Peter recalls a day when Lisa came back from Milan, and he greeted her at the door. When she saw him, she smiled and said she missed him so much. He felt happy then, thinking the distance had made her appreciate him more, not knowing she had been unfaithful in the lawn. He also recalls her final words to him in the restaurant. The following morning, Peter meets Ralph at a museum and asks if he had ever married any of the women he'd been with. Ralph replies, I don't believe in marriage. Why would I marry someone, tie myself down, and not be able to meet other women? He adds that he has a son from an affair, who lives with his mother, and he knows nothing about him. Ralph then asks Peter if he is married. Peter replies, yes, I've been married for 25 years. I love my wife, and she loves me. We trust each other deeply, and neither of us has ever cheated. Ralph responds, it's hard for two people to stay loyal for that long. The next day, we see Ralph and Peter at the cafe again playing chess. Ralph says, I'm going to win this round. You're stuck and can't escape. But Peter surprises him and wins with the next move. Just then, Ralph receives a call from Lisa's number. He panics, quickly answers, and calls her name, then rushes out of the cafe. Of course, Peter follows him, and we discover that it was Abigail who called Ralph using her mother's phone. When she hears his voice, she ends the call without saying a word. But that call rekindles Ralph's hope of seeing Lisa again. The next day, Abigail goes to her father's company to find out where he went. Meanwhile, we return to Ralph, who tells Peter that the call he received the previous day was from the shoe designer. He says she is the most beautiful woman in the world and that when she left him, he realized she was the only one he had ever truly loved. He begins recounting details of their relationship, and at that point, Peter loses control of his temper and gets angry. Ralph assumes Peter is upset because he lost the chess game and says, it's just a game. At that moment, Ralph spots one of his creditors entering the cafe, so he quickly leaves. Peter pays the creditor the amount Ralph owes and follows him. Then Abigail appears and stops him. He asks her, "What are you doing here?" She replies that she found out who her mother was involved with, called him, and heard his voice. Peter tells her, "I see him every day, play chess with him, talk to him, and from his behavior and the way he talks, I can tell he's a pathetic man." He then takes her to the hotel and shows her photos of Ralph with her mother and reads her the emails he sent her. Afterward, he bursts out, saying to his daughter, "I want to know, did I fall short somehow? Why wasn't I enough for her, that she got involved with this worthless man? I'm seriously thinking of killing him." He then tells her that he was the one responding to Ralph's messages, pretending to be Lisa. Abigail is shocked and says, "How could you do something like that? Just forget it and go back to London." When he refuses, she leaves. The next day, Peter goes to the building where Ralph lives. As he arrives, he hears a sound coming from the janitor's room. He follows the sound and finds Ralph wearing very old clothes in a ground floor apartment. That's when Peter realizes Ralph is the building's caretaker. But Ralph explains that he only goes down there to take care of a little turtle he found at the building's entrance. At that moment, Peter sees a hammer in the room. He grabs it, intending to kill Ralph, who has his back turned and doesn't see him. But Ralph hands him the little turtle, saying how cute it is. Peter takes it, then gives it back and leaves. When Peter returns to the hotel, he finds his daughter holding her bag. She says, "I'm going back to London now. You should forget all of this and come back too." But he refuses, so she leaves. Peter goes up to his hotel room and sends Ralph an email, pretending to be Lisa. He tells him she will meet him at their old place, a hotel on the shores of Lake Como, on Friday at 8 p.m. in the hotel restaurant. When Ralph reads the message, he's overjoyed and calls Peter, inviting him for dinner at his apartment the next day. Meanwhile, Peter borrows the keys to an apartment in the building Ralph supposedly manages, knowing the owners are away. The next day, he goes up to that apartment before his meeting with Ralph. When he reaches the ground floor unit, Ralph calls down from the stairs, telling him, "Come up to my apartment." Peter goes up, even though he knows it's not really Ralph's place. Ralph tells him he's going to meet Lisa on Friday and asks to borrow some money. Peter gives him the full amount. Ralph then begins packing his bag to book a suite at the hotel. On Friday, at the scheduled time, Ralph leaves his hotel room and heads to the restaurant. But he is shocked to find Peter waiting for him. Peter tells him that he's Lisa's husband and that Lisa died of cancer 9 months ago. We flash back to the moment Peter discovered Lisa had cancer. The doctor tells him she had known about it for a while and refused treatment, and now there's no hope. When he asks why she refused treatment, the doctor says Lisa didn't want her body to be disfigured. Back in the present, Ralph tells Peter that Lisa did the right thing. She had always been beautiful, and the treatment would have required amputating part of her body. Peter explodes. And what does that part matter if it could have saved her life? We flash back again to see Lisa telling Peter she had been happy throughout their marriage. He asks her to choose a place she loves, and he'll take her there. He gives her a piece of paper to write it down, but she can't bring herself to do it. The next day, she writes Lake Como and gives the paper to her daughter, asking her to pass it to her father after she dies. As Lisa's condition worsens, Peter and Abigail take turns caring for her. Back in the present, Ralph asks Peter how he found out about his affair with Lisa. Peter replies that he found pictures of them in a folder on her laptop titled Love. Ralph asks if he read the messages. Peter replies, "I read them all. In fact, I was the one replying to you at the end." Ralph says, "I won't deny I'm a failure, but I'm very good at making a married woman, married to a successful man like you, feel a love she never had with you. Maybe you got your revenge, but I lived the best moments of my life with your wife. I paid off my debts. She was truly happy with me. She loved me. And thank you so much for the money you gave me. It bought me this suit and the suite in this fancy hotel. Of course, you know I'll never be able to pay you back." At that moment, Peter walks away and leaves him. We return once again to the moment of Lisa's death on her bed, with Peter and Abigail by her side. When she passed away, they both broke down in grief. Back in the present, we see Peter returning to his home in Cambridge. After some time, he calls his daughter and asks to meet her in London the next day. He travels to London after learning that Ralph is there, and he goes to the pub Ralph used to frequent and invites him to dinner. Ralph agrees. The dinner is held in memory of Lisa. Peter invites the fashion house owner and all of Lisa's friends. When Abigail arrives, she hears her father introducing Ralph to the guests, saying, "This is my wife's friend, and I'm here tonight to honor the memory of my beloved Lisa." At that moment, his daughter walks up to stand beside him, clearly proud of her father. In the final scene, we see Peter and his daughter at the train station, waiting for the train that will take them back to Cambridge. He says to her, "Ralph is a lowly man, he doesn't even deserve our revenge." And thus, the film comes to an end. If you enjoyed the movie, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to receive all the latest upload.